In this video, traders, we're going to look at what the new ESMA rules mean for you. Stay tuned. Hey traders, a very warm welcome to you. So, European Securities Market Authority have decided to completely overhaul CFD, spread betting, spot, forex industry. In this video, two-part series, I'm going to talk about what exactly has happened, what does it mean for you, and in the next part, we're going to talk about examples of exactly what it means for your trades. 28th of July, these new rules come in. Basically, what has happened? Let's have a look. Or why has this happened? We have heard all sorts of things in the media about people losing money spread betting or CFDs. One springs to mind about a teacher who was on 18,000 a year, losing £250,000 trading. We've heard of old age pensioners being encouraged to spread bet with their pensions. We've heard all this kind of stories that come out where people haven't really understood the risks, haven't understood the leverage aspect of it, and have lost money. We've had the whole Swiss franc unpegging. When people were caught out in that with serious position sizes, they were left on the hook for some serious losses. Now, brokers didn't pursue all of those just for reputation purposes and for whatever commercial reason, but they all came to light and it all came out and it was in the media. It was like all these bad products are hurting everybody. So the ESMA or ESMA basically said we need to do something about this. And in addition to that, they bundled in CFDs, spread bets with binaries. And binaries have got a really bad rap. And you know, there are, as we've done a video about this before, we talked about there's legitimate binary providers and there's the complete scam artists, and there's lots of in between. So they're a fair product when traded correctly and if you use the right one, but they were just being overused really to drain people's money. And they were having a hard sell. You know, you had literally boiler rooms full of people, salespeople ringing up, trying to get people to part with a few £100. Once they got the account open and they're getting the part with more money, it was just a salesman's game as opposed to actually being a genuine financial product. And unfortunately, the wrong companies got hold of that and they were the ones who were causing the problems. And people complain about binaries, and binary complaints went up to the FCA and European regulators and what have you. And all of a sudden, binaries are like this big bad thing. Unfortunately, CFDs, spread bets, spot have all been bundled into this. So this applies to the whole lot. So probably if you're trading now, you're trading from Europe, UK, whatever it may be, you're probably trading CFD, spread bet or spot. If you're watching from the US, these probably aren't going to affect you, but you've got different margin restrictions anyway. Okay, so who's it affecting? CFDs, spread bets, spot. What is it actually? What do they actually mean? How's it going to affect you? How's it going to affect me? What does it mean for us on our day-to-day trading? So the first thing is, from a company's perspective, is their marketing. They're now very, very restricted on how they're going to market to new clients. So if you're thinking of switching brokers, these long gone are the days where they're going to present you with a bonus offer or some kind of incentive to get you into trading. And you know what? This is probably a good thing, right? Because trading's a serious business. If you're watching this video and you're subscribed to the channel, you're going to know that we take this seriously. We talk about mindset, strategy, all this kind of stuff, and really attracting people with these flashing light type things maybe devalues the skill required. There's an argument for that. Stick your thoughts in the comment section below on that one. So they're not going to be able to pitch it like that anymore. They are going to have to be very, very strict. The ads are going to be very, very structured. There's a standardized risk warning on all the ads. There was anyway, but they're going to have to tighten that right up. I believe also they're now going to have to state that X amount of people trading with them lose money. So they're upfront about this. Binaries are gone. No binaries, no offers, and they're very restricted with ads. So that's that side of it. So what about the actual trade side of it? So we have lots of things that have come into play that are going to affect you and I when we're trading. Margin, negative balance protection, and margin closeout. Let's look at these individually. Let's start off first with negative balance protection. I believe this is a good thing, right? And what does this mean? This basically means that whatever happens to your position overnight, or a gap or the Swiss franc incident, you are not going to lose more than you have deposited into your account. Now, that will restrict, I think, some of the offerings. Like, you won't be able to go long as massive margin leverage right up, should I say, on some kind of stock that potentially is going to gap in earnings overnight. They're going to restrict that now. They're going to obviously have a commercial reason to be cautious about their exposure. If they're on the hook for this kind of thing, they're going to be very careful, and they'll do that by increasing margin requirements, reducing sizes, as well as we'll talk about in a second, margin requirements by law, but they will, from a commercial perspective, make sure they're not being overexposed to kind of things like the Swiss franc, for example, like small stocks that might gap heavily overnight on earnings or might gap on a court ruling. They don't want to be on the hook for that, so they're probably going to say, hey, if you want to trade that, you've got to put up 80% margin for that because it could gap down 80%, and we don't want to be paying that out. So, but generally speaking, that is good for most people, because I think for newer traders especially, getting their head around the whole thing of, hey, wait, I could lose more than my investment. How does that work? So if I put in 5,000, I could lose more than that. Wait, and that confuses people. At least now with this negative balance protection, you like, hey, I'm going to stake this into my trading account, and that's it. That's all I'm willing to lose, and I know that I'm not going to lose more than that. Even if something crazy happens to the market, it slips right through my stop. It's the broker's problem, not mine. So that's a good thing. Now, it remains to be seen, that's going to cost them money over time, right? They are going to have to self-insure against that somehow. Do they pass that cost on to us with widened spreads, bigger commissions with CFDs, more overnight financing fees, that kind of stuff? Or do they swallow it as part of their profitability and think, you know what, hasn't happened very often. We can adjust and adapt to different market conditions. We can make sure we're not on the hook for big swinging things and sort it out from there. So we'll see what happens. Next two things are margin requirements and margin closeout. Now the margin requirements, I'm going to do another video on this because I want to go into very distinct, specific examples as to how it will change for different products like FTSE, like Euro, US dollar, like gold, and it needs a total new video for that, because that's the most important things for us guys, right? How much we have to put up. A margin, as we know, is how much we have to put up to control a specific £10 a point. We put up a total amount of margin based on the notional value. So I'm going to do a really deep dive example into that. Same with the margin closeout. That is also changing. It basically means how long you can hold the position until the broker says, hey, you know what, you've got a margin call now, we're gonna have to close you out. They are changing the rules on that. So look out, we'll stick the link to the second part of this two-part video series in the link below. We'll look at some real deep dive examples. But in summary, it looks to me, as a personal opinion, and I'll be interested to hear you guys' comments in the comment section below, they have swung right the other way. Okay, they have said basically, you know what, you're allowed to do whatever you want. They've been very, very lax, and we've had these binary things which shouldn't have been hard sold. You shouldn't have been pitching spread betting to OAPs with a pension. I'm not talking about age here. I'm talking about people who haven't got the assets to it and don't understand it. And we shouldn't have been kind of having people who didn't understand the risk trading. And by the way, what I mean by OAPs, I don't mean anyone generally over 60 or 65 or 70. Perfectly, people who are over that age are perfectly adequate and capable of trading, but it's the point they're pitching to people who aren't in the right demographic. The little old lady, to put it into kind of brackets, who hasn't got that much money, is being pitched spread betting. That's not fair. That shouldn't be happening. So they've gone now from that all the way over to basically saying, hey, do you know what? You can't trade this, you can't trade that. We have to hold your hand, we have to do that. Now, in the other video, I'm going to talk about ways that we can get around it, ways that we can, there's two different ways actually we can potentially get around these new rules, and we'll talk about those in the next video. But the point is, they've swung so far now that I think that this is really choking the business in general, really choking the industry. CFDs and spread betting companies will be interesting to see how they get on with the next earnings season, comes out, how their profitability is affected. But, as with a lot of these things, guys, when government gets involved with stuff, they swing one way and then swing the other. My theory is, and again, comments in the comment section below on this one, is that they perhaps could have kept this negative balance protection. They could have said, okay, let's be very restrictive on who we promote products to, and fine people very, very aggressively if they are promoting it to people who shouldn't be promoted. Should be kind of some kind of filtering process for that. Because obviously what's going to happen now is that a lot of people are going to go abroad to unregulated firms. You're going to get unregulated firms sprouting up in the middle of nowhere, somewhere in the Pacific or the Caribbean or the Indian Ocean or wherever. Again, I'm not being discriminatory against any ocean here, but you get the idea. Popping up, setting up a company, offering this product, advertising it to UK residents and circumventing this. But anyway, part two, stay tuned for that one. We're going to look at some deep dive examples as to actually how this is going to affect your pocketbook and your trading ability. Bye-bye.